There are a lot of options today for Masterpiece Transformers. A lot of the characters that are actually out have multiple different options for multiple different companies. Takara is actually in the works to put out several figures this year in the Masterpiece line, but it begs to question, and we beg to wonder, should Takara even bother at this point, especially with the character selections and the things that they're doing? Should they bother with these? Shouldn't they be doing something else? Well, we're going to talk about all this coming up. So for many of you, you know that I was secret out a while back, and I got rid of a lot of my seekers. A lot of these seekers I'm going to talk about. But with Takara putting out a new one, of course I'm on board with it, and I saw it. I foresaw this years ago, and I kind of dumped all my seekers, probably too cheap, but I only have a few. Now, a lot of people are in the same situation as me. See, I don't have a lot of seekers, and I'm in the same situation as you if you don't have a lot of seekers. So now I'm no longer super secret out, and I'm actually excited to see new seekers come along. But looking at this, Takara's going to put their new Starstream out this year, and of course start the whole rainbow of different characters coming out in different colors and different names and all of that stuff. But starting with Starstream, that's the important part, because there's more Starscreams out right now and more Starscreams that will be coming available. And so starting with Takara on the left, we have Make Toys coming up, and Make Toys does have a pulse. They are putting out figures. They did just put out a Seeker. They're probably going to have their Starscream out relatively soon, maybe the next month or two. So not really competing with Takara, but we're going to have some more competition coming up. And then we have their MP03 and their MP11. I couldn't fit 11 in this picture here, but looking at all of this, we have so many options. Then we have the very last one, which is Zeta. And Zeta's going to be a little bit taller. In fact, it's going to be about 10 point something inches, 10.5 inches or something tall. He may actually be close to head though with Megatron and just the mandible parts sticking up. So it's really one of those things that until we get it, we really don't know if it's going to be too big, or we have to put it in a dynamic pose so it doesn't look too tall. But those are options. Those are options that are out there. Now, I touched on this in the news, but I am really shocked Zeta's going to go a 2.0 round head-to-head with a Starscream versus Takara's Starscream. But then maybe you step it back a little bit and you go, okay, Takara's going for a super clean toon look, and Zeta's going for a lot of line work, more of a real-world kind of aesthetic, and should they both exist? Well, yes, they should. And should Takara bother? Well, looking at these side by side, I really think Takara does win in this one. But if Takara's 240 and Zeta's 100, which they haven't announced a price yet, but if Zeta's 100 or even 150 versus 240, 250 for the Takara, so they're operating at different price levels, different price structures, and almost targeting different collectors. So you could put a Zeta in your collection, or you could save up and put your Takara in your collection, whichever way you want to go. But the other thing is the Zeta transformation is very simplistic, and we don't know anything about Takara's transformation. Is that thing going to be mind-blowingly terrible? Is it going to be rough? Is there going to be a chance of breaking it? So there's a lot more questions to this. Should Takara do it? Yes. Yes, they should bother doing it, because we're going to get all these figures, all these different ones updated. There's new collectors out now that weren't collecting 3, 4, or 5 years ago and missed out on some of the Seekers that are sold out. Now, here's the other option. Takara could just be reissuing the old mold. So if they kept reissuing the old mold, and they would probably still increase the price, what would you rather have? Them reissue the old mold or give you a new figure? Well, we're getting into some other stuff, and we're going to talk about new figures here in just a bit. So Takara's new figure they're going to make, or a new character they're going to make, and it's Skids. And I was a little perplexed and surprised, but I looked at the silver lining around this. The fact that I have a Skids that's fine wasn't what I was, well, that's exactly what I was thinking. But the silver lining is that Takara is actually working outside of the main characters, not doing the main leaders and just the number one selling characters. Skids is a huge risk, but really, Takara can take any risk they want. See, Takara can put a figure out, and it's going to sell no matter what. I mean, there's certain companies that can put a figure out that'll sell no matter what. Just like Fans Toys, no matter what figure they put out, no matter what they do, whatever they sell, it sells. Oh wait, this isn't sold out yet? Oh. Well, maybe Takara might find themselves in this situation because some collectors are already happy with their X-Transbot Savant. So in this situation, X-Transbots already has their figure out. And the figure is actually pretty solid figure. It looks pretty good. It feels pretty good for X-Transbots. And with that, what's the chances that we get the Takaras and feel like X-Transbots is better? What is the chance of that? It's a possibility. There's a chance that could happen. And also, how many people really want a second Skids? And who would really want to dump their X-Transbots and go to Takara for a Skids? Or I could see some people doing it for Fans Toys. But this day and age, I'm starting to wonder if anybody would do that for a Takara. Will this figure sell? Now, it will sell quite a bit and eventually sell out, but it may not hit their targets or their expectations. But that's going to be a problem if it doesn't, because we might not see any more obscure figures coming from Takara. So yes, I do want them to bother with this figure, so hopefully we get other better figures in the future. And the price point is right on. They're almost exactly priced the same, Takara and X-Transbots. And the bigger problem really is with this, well, it's not Jetfire, so it would be a Skyfire. And if it's really getting made, is it really getting made? Is this an old design that they scratched? Because, of course, it was standing next to an MP10. So a lot of people are talking about this. There is a bit of excitement about it, but should they even bother? When it comes to Skids, we know we're getting Skids no matter what, so it's coming out no matter what. When it comes to the Seekers, they're already in the works. They're on their way. We're going to have a lot of them by the end of the year. But when it comes to this, we don't even know. It's not even officially announced, unless I missed it. It's not even officially announced yet. So when you start looking at it and you say, well, this figure isn't even announced, so should they bother making it? And I have to say yes. And here's the reason I have to say yes. They should bother making it. And it's simply because, first of all, the Fans Toys is getting very expensive. Even the reissues are getting up there to the $300 price point. It originally came out at $220, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, Takara's is going to be $400, $500, or $600," and I don't think so anymore. When you see the pricing structure that they went to with the Skids at $90, now I could see this being about $220 or $250 for this figure, and maybe up to $300, but I hope not up to $300. But the other thing is, almost everything Takara makes gets KO'd. Even though we saw almost the end of KO, almost everything they make gets KO'd. So it would be a KO years from now. Also, there'd be another thing out there. And I think Takara just allows KO to happen. And the other question about this one is would it look better? And it's like the more I look at the picture, we don't see any dynamic poses. This looks like the worst pose ever. And versus the Phoenix, I love the way the Phoenix looks on my shelf, so I really don't see why I would need to upgrade. But you start to look at it just a little bit different, and you look at the waist section where Takara's legs go all the way up, and you see the rotation joints on Fans Toys, and you start looking at, well, actually the way the legs were done, the flaring of the legs is more cartoon accurate. The way the feet protrude out with only one protrusion, it slides out nice and smooth. But the more I look at it and the more stuff I like about Takara's, the more I start thinking it's an old mold. The more things I like about this make it look like it's a more simplistic design. And I like simplistic, to tell you the truth. And I like the look of it. I don't need hyper articulation like a lot of people go crazy for. That's me personally. But would it be a problem for the rest of the community that wants massive hyper articulation? So I don't see it. Like, we've got a little more articulation in the Fans Toys according to the way this looks, unless they pulled off some crazy engineering. But do we need it? Should they make it? And I say yes, they should. More options. The more options, the better. Now we're getting into their Raiden, right on. And of course, I talked about this a little bit in the news, and I don't want to make any news segment too long, and so I really wanted to elaborate so much more. But what I really think about Takara's Trainbots is the fact that we're going to get sort of something to put in with your G1 or your Chug collection. It's going to be Chug scaled. It's going to be something that you could get and not have to spend $600, $700, $800. Well, I hope it's not that much, to get the original G1. I don't know how much the original G1s are going for so much nowadays. I really didn't even, I looked at prices maybe a couple years ago, but I never really was committed to buying it, so I didn't really care. But now look at this, you could get one to put in your Chug. It will look better than G1, hopefully, theoretically. And so that would be a very interesting item to have. And of course, I would like to see what Takara could do with a combiner. What could Takara do when they make a combiner? And you start to think, okay, well, they're going to go Chug, and what they're doing with Chug, is this going to prelude to maybe something, the engineering that they're going to be using in some of the upcoming combiners in the main line, or is this just a whole completely different project that's off the wall? Will they do anything in combiner-wise for Masterpiece? That's a lot of questions that I have, and I think Raiden will kind of help answer that. Now, looking at the silhouette versus what we're going to get with Moon Studio, and I gotta say, Moon Studio looks just amazing. Zeta really does look good in combined mode. I am impressed with their Superion the most, and I see a lot of the elements of the Superion in this, and so it's really hard for me to pass on it. So y'all taught me into it, so I'm pre-ordering all 6, so I guess I'm in on it like you guys. So a lot of people are in on this Moon Studio set and excited for it, and so I'm sharing that excitement myself, so I'll get one. I guess I'll review that one. And lastly, we're going to get into talking about this Bumblebee movie, Optimus Prime. Now, the first thing I'm going to say, should Takara even bother with it? Well, yes. I mean, the answer to all these is yes, obviously. But should they bother with it with Toy World being so good? From what I hear, it looks great. It's made of die-cast. I'm sure it feels really great in hand. It's super big. It's super massive. And for $200, I mean, I thought $200 was a bit high, but now that I'm starting to kind of look at how prices have changed and all that, gone up, gone through the roof, $204 wasn't a bad price for this guy. And so looking at them side by side, which one do you even like better? Which one do you like the aesthetic for the aesthetic? And I do think Takara's looks good. Will it come with premium paint job? Will it won't feel anywhere near as quality as something heavily with die-cast like the Toy World one, which I don't know exactly how much die-cast, but it says it has some in there, so I'm sure you could feel it. But could they possibly lose in this case? And if they do lose in this case, are they going to get upset about third party? You know, there's a lot of questions that surround this. But Primes always sell. So, I mean, really, they can put a Prime out, it's going to sell no matter. And there's a market of people that won't touch third party that they're definitely going to sell to, they cater to. So there's still a whole lot of good going for it. And so, yes, they should make it. But with Toy World out there, I think a lot of people that have that won't even bother with the Takara one. And that's my understanding on this. I'm really curious what you guys think, especially those of you who already have the Toy World. Do you even care that Takara is doing one? And the Takara one will probably be a bit shorter. Like, I think the Takara version of this will be way shorter than Toy World, but I really think that the Skyfires will be a lot closer in height. I still think Takara will be a little shorter than Fans Toys, but I'm talking like 3/4 of an inch. And that's not that much. So what do you think about Takara and all of their releases? Should they even bother? Do you feel like they should bother? Are you going to pick up all the stuff they're getting, one or two of the figures that they are making? Or are you perfectly happy with what you already have? Because, well, let's just face it, they're not putting anything out we don't already have. Every single one of these releases is something that we already have on our shelf, or a lot of us have on our shelves. So, what do you think? Like, subscribe, comment below. Tadarium Hanger out.